Dave Christie, who is going to be the secondary voice of the E-Team Brit GT3 Challenge, which will be is already open for entries. Of course, the VRRC will be starting their first broadcast, starting at 10 to 12 British Summer Time this coming Saturday, where there is a packed grid of 35 drivers, combining both the drivers that were due to compete in the mini challenge before the pandemic meant that everything was postponed. The real-time race drivers will be fighting for a £10,000 simulator, and also the fact that the sim racers will be having an opportunity to get behind the wheel of a mini challenge car at the end of 8 races, with Richard John Neal on commentary. Speaking of Rich Hayden, here is the man in question running the number 50. There was a bit of banter, I think, between Rich and his fellow Audi RS3 LMS driver, Janne de Prins, who's running the 51. Rich said on Discord, "So, would you like it if I turned your car pink?" And the instant response was a resounding no. So we're now into qualifying. 19 and a quarter minutes on the clock, still to tick away here at the 14-turn circuit at Mugello. A fantastic circuit, with quite a few now making their way out of the pits, which includes Kobe Leekens in the Alfa Giulietta TCR, being behind the back bumper of Janne de Prins. So we will find out. So we've got. So you now see that we've got a split screen. So we'll be able to keep an eye on certain things happening as Janne de Prins gets overtaken by Kobe Leekens. There's on the left Gary Rigby in one of the Audi RS3s. Obviously, Chris runs in the sister RS3, so we'll see him come out of the pits in due course. There's Jose Alde on the right-hand side of your screen in the Cupra Leon. Some big news, actually, from Cupra earlier on this week. Reference, they're going to be running an online e-TCR, as in electric TCR cars, obviously with pure e-TCR now being on everyone's radar, following the massive unveil a bit earlier on this season. So for those watching on the Simply Race YouTube channel, we do have the chat open, and I will be keeping my eyes on what's going on in there. So Rich Hayden sets the initial benchmark of a 2 minute 7.6. Stefan Tanner in the Volkswagen Golf GTI Mark 7 TCR is in second, ahead of Konstantin Kletzer. Kenny Press, the sole Peugeot driver, actually drops down to P5 as Andy Mellors in the sister Hyundai i30. There's Konstantin on the right-hand side, Rich Hayden on the left. So time starting to come in. And some drivers, so Zoskier, 2 minute 38. Sarah Johnson, she's running also in a Golf GTI Mark 7 TCR, down in P9 behind David Christie, or Dave. Sounds like something that Trig would call rodders in Only Fools and Horses, but I digress. 16 minutes and 47 seconds on the clock remaining in open qualification here at Mugello. So track temperature 22 degrees Celsius, virtually speaking, and air temperature 20 degrees, and bright sunshine with blue clouds up ahead in the skies above. So Rich Hayden still is about 3 seconds ahead of Andy Mellors. Stefan Tanner has now gone up into P3 ahead of Konstantin Kletzer. So that makes it 2 Volkswagens, an Audi, a Hyundai, or Hyundai as it's more commonly known if you ask a South Korean to pronounce it. There's Chris Rigby on the left-hand side of your screen, and there is Andy Mellors. So no one has been able to... Now, there are some drivers that haven't set a lap time yet. Chris Rigby hasn't, Paul Laramie, Andy Carroll, John Cole, Max Coates, Kobe Leekens. And as I say that, Stefan Tanner in the Volkswagen goes quickest, quickly deposed by not just Kenny Press, but then it's Konstantin Kletzer at the top, and then Alex Toth-Jones puts in an absolute stormer as Kletzer is pulled to the left-hand side on the main straight, heading towards San Donato. The first corner here. There's Alex Toth-Jones in the MSL Motorsport Consultancy Cupra Leon, P1 by just 0.238 tenths of a second. Tyson Zoski is in second in the Honda Civic, as Sarah Johnson now moves up to P3. Konstantin Kletzer, P4. Jose Alde is the second fastest of the Cupras, as the sole Alfa Romeo Giulietta on home soil, driven by Kobe Leekens, up into P7. Jose Calvo and Dave Christie round out the top 10. They're separated by just under 1.6 seconds, as we've gone past the first quarter of qualification here for round 3. So this will be races 5 and 6. And Dave Marshall in the Hyundai i30N TCR has been the dominant force in this so far. And I'm just looking at the times now. Max Coates has done his outlap, and there's Andy Carroll. Didn't really have a good run out last time at Zandvoort, where it all went very, very touch and go, I think, for a lot of drivers in the second race. So we'll find out who is going to be where at the end of this particular qualification session. There's Chris Rigby, currently P17, but he's only put in a 4:10. That's pretty much a very slow outlap just to get into position now to put the hammer down, so to speak. Looks to be behind Stefan Tanner, I believe, they're out on circuit. As Tanner goes up to P8, Kenny Press in the Sol Peugeot goes up into P4, 0.783 seconds behind Toth-Jones, who is still leading the way. There's a bit of a lock up there. Oh, just up ahead of Chris Rigby, and that was Stefan Tanner. But now, as I've mentioned him a couple of times, he's responded. Dave Marshall, sub 1 minute 55, 1:54.970 in the Hyundai i30N TCR. That's over 0.4 of a second quicker than Alex Toth-Jones. And looking back over the last couple of rounds at Spa and also Zandvoort, Marshall has taken pole position quite convincingly. That everyone started to put their times in, and Marshall's just put a lap time in, and there is Dave Marshall. So at the moment, with 12 minutes and 50 seconds on the clock remaining in qualifying here at Mugello, it's Dave Marshall, Alex Toth-Jones, Tyson Zoski, Sarah Johnson, Kenny Press, Konstantin Kletzer, Jose Alde, Kobe Leekens, Stefan Tanner, and Andy Mellers rounding out the top 10. Max Coates up to P16 now, just under 2.9 seconds off of Marshall's pace in the Hyundai. So top 10 separated by just 1.6 seconds. And it's quite close because I'm looking at Calvo and Cole. That's John Cole down in 11th and 12th. They're not that far. They're within half a tenth or so of possibly getting into the top 10, depending on how they string a lap together. Stefan Tanner and Dave Christie in the pits currently. So they are looking to gear themselves up, get themselves ready to put another lap time in, as you can just see from the rear end, as Rich Hayden goes P8 on a 1 minute 56.312 with just under 11 minutes and 50 seconds to go. You can just see the flames shooting ablaze out of the centre exhaust pipe on Dave Marshall's Hyundai. There's Jan de Prins, currently P16 on a 1 minute 57.392. So Marshall has also gone into the pits. Jose Calvo now goes up into P5, making Jose the, make that P6 as Kletzer goes up into P4. Leekens and De Prins pretty much even Stevens. Leekens a 1 minute 56.487, De Prins 56.521. So as De Prins looks to be doing a reset there, there's Alex Toth-Jones still in second, but he's closed the gap slightly to Dave Marshall. It was just over 0.43. He's got it down to 0.399 exactly, if you want to be pedantic in terms of tenths of a second. But Marshall has been the one that has really been quicker than anybody. I mean, the Hyundai in its own right in TCR competition has been the benchmark, and very much the case here in the eSeries racing world. So Salminen looking to struggle a little bit as the Finn. It's put a 1:59.014 as we're 15 seconds away from halfway of this qualifying session. So Marshall, Toth Jones, Zoske, Kletzer, Johnson, Calvo, Alday. 10 minutes to go on the clock. Toth Jones still trying to string the laps together in order to get as close as possible towards provisional pole position, which is still being held by Dave Marshall. Top 15 separated by just over 2 seconds at the minute. So Toth Jones last lap, a 1:55.422. Zoska is only just 5.5 tenths off provisional pole. Kletzer 0.725 off of provisional pole. And Sarah Johnson is doing an absolutely brilliant job in the blue, pink and white Golf GTI Mark 7. She's currently P5 at the minute. Loving the big VW sign on the roof of that car as well. As more drivers, which looks to be Gobby Leakins has gone into the pits as well. Dave Marshall back out on circuit. There's Rich Hayden on the right-hand side of your screens. Rich is currently running in P9, 1.342 seconds off of Dave, who is head and shoulders the one that has really put his stamp at the halfway point. And when you take a look back at the standings for this so far, he's on 236 points. Zoska in the lead Honda Civic in the standings is effectively 85 points behind. And then there's a further 7 back to Salminen. Toth Jones is in the fight, I think probably for at least second position. So the runner-up spot as Marshall goes a bit wide there. I think that might have been through, I'm just going to keep an eye on where he is at the moment. I think that was through turns 6 and 7 through Casanova and Savelli. So Marshall absolutely pushing like crazy as we've got 8 minutes on the clock still left to go in that respect. So still plenty of time in some respects, but it just depends on how far Dave Marshall pushes the envelope. Andy Mellors is in P7, so good respective efforts from both Hyundais at the moment, as that's the car of Paul Laramie I've just spotted, currently P21, 4.1 seconds off the pace from Marshall. Looks like Tanner's gone up to P11. 1.3 seconds, and he's only 36 thousandths ahead of Rich Hayden. Kenny Press moves up into P8. And Marshall again drops the hammer, pushes the envelope, and he's gone exactly half a second quicker than Alex Toth Jones in terms of fastest lap. So a 1:54.869 for Dave Marshall, and then it's a 1:55.369 for Alex Toth Jones. I wouldn't count out Zoska for a possibility of a front row start for race 1, which will get underway at 6:25 p.m. British Summer Time, or 7:25 p.m. Central European Time. So 6.5 minutes to go. Marshall, Toth Jones, Zoska, Kletzer, Johnson. That is your top 5. And we're briefly on board on the right-hand side of Alex Toth Jones's car as he's hustling his way through the corners there. Looks to be on the back bumper of either Chris or Gary Rigby just up ahead. And Jones just really sends it from absolutely nowhere. Oh, a little bit of 2 wheels on the grass going through the entrance into that corner. Rigby runs wide. So very, very committed lap. We've got Max Coates on the right-hand side. He's also hustling his way through the corners. I think touching grass ever so slightly is Here's Max, very likeable young man, very good racer, and good to see him with us here as well. I think I've known Max since his Ginetta days, and that's a long old time ago. I remember he gave me a passenger ride in one of the Ginetta G40s, and I was grinning like a Cheshire cat. So we go on board with Alex on the left-hand side as he goes across the start-finish line to head towards the long. This is a very long straightaway here at Mugello as he heads his way up to San Donato, the first corner. So it's pretty much a hairpin here. So we'll look at what. So here is Max at the moment. Again, he's now running still P19. Got a little bit of time to find, I think, 2.417 seconds he's got to find. We are broadcasting not just on YouTube, but we're also broadcasting on the Virtual Reality Racing Club Facebook page and also the Let's Race Facebook page, amongst others. So where's Coates now? He's made some inroads as Max by at least half a second. He's up to P17, 1.871 seconds, as Dave Marshall has yet to have an answer thrown his way. I think the drivers I'm really going to look at are probably the remainder of the top five, with Toth, Jones, Zoske, Kletzer and Johnson. But Mikko Salminen has been on a bit of a comeback trail as the Finnish driver. 1 second behind Dave Marshall. So John Cole is in the pits. Jose Alde also in the pits. Alde running out the top 10, separated by just under 1.3 seconds. Kenny Press and Jose Calvo have done their best efforts of qualification so far. Calvo 1 minute 55.997. Kenny Press 1 minute 56.048. And Max Coates is just under 7 tenths of a second, 0.692 of a second off of Kenny Press. And Max has got just over 3 minutes and 20 seconds still left to go. There's Leekens, locking up a bit there in the Alfa Romeo Giulietta TCR. So drivers still putting in their best efforts. So Dave Christie, I think, might have called it a day. He's P12. Looks to be the switched machinery, I believe, into the Volkswagen this time. He was running the Cupra Leon last time around, as we're now going to see if Max Coates improves his time from 17th position. Where does he end up? He crosses the line with 2 minutes and 38 seconds to go, and he does not improve. He lost about 1.2 seconds on that particular lap. Bearing in mind that a lot of these drivers I just saw a lock-up from Max's right rear wheel going into San Donato, as he's going to go through Luco and Poggio Secco, which is turns 2 and 3. I love it when you get corner names at tracks. It means that there's some sort of character. Massive lock-up from Leekens going into San Donato. He's currently P14 at the moment in the Sol Alpha. There's Stefan Tanner in that respect. So he's definitely keeping himself busy. Big thank you to Bobby Trundley from Team Brit, who's also watching the stream. Hopefully we'll see if you can do better than a lower part of the top 10 in the E-Team Brit Series finale this coming Friday, my friend. You've been doing some great work, and thank you for tuning in as well, mate. Really do appreciate it. So we're coming into the last 1 minute and 20 seconds. Dave Marshall has been literally untouchable in this session, and he has gone even quicker, 1 minute 54.690. And that puts him 0.672 of a second ahead of Alex Toth Jones, who's going to try and do his best. The Hyundai, a very, very different package to the Cupra. But there has been a nice bit of a change for Tyson Zoske. He's done a personal best, but has not improved on position. Last 50 seconds of the session to go. Yes, I do agree with you, Bobby, because he's going to be sending me messages via Discord. He said that he hopes that Alex is going to pull something out of the bag. We'll see what happens in the next 32 seconds as it's still Marshall, Toth Jones, Oscar, Kletzer, Salmon and Johnson, Mellors, Hayden, Calvo, Press. That's the top 10. So this is going to be Alex Toth Jones's last attempt on this session. But he's again looking to be on a front row start with him and Dave Marshall. They do say that it's times for show. Points are to go, and the person that's been amassing those points is Dave Marshall. Right, that's it. 20-minute qualifying is up. Checkered flag is being waved on the main start-finish straight here at Mugello. So Marshall has pitted. He knows he's done enough. Let's see if Alex Toth Jones can get that gap ever closer. It's not gonna. If it's not enough for pole, let's hope he increases the distance between himself and Zoska. Well, Zoska has actually opted to pit, as Kletzer. Johnson's pitted, Mellor's pitted. Alex Toth Jones is just going to give it one final hurrah here in qualifying. And the Cupra driver crosses the line and does fractionally improve. A 1 minute 55.348. And that is his last attempt. Salmonen did a personal best, P5. So Dave Marshall, again, for the third round in succession for race number 5 here at Mugello. The first of our two 20-minute races here. The second one will be a reverse grid start, and both will be standing starts only. So Marshall, again, your pole sitter for round 3 of the Virtual Reality Racing Club TCR eSeries, ahead of Alex Toth Jones, Tyson Zoska, Konstantin Kletzer and Mikko Salminen rounding out the top 5 positions, with 3rd to 5th being represented by two Volkswagens and a Honda Civic. Marshall in the Hyundai, Toth Jones in the Cupra. Sarah Johnson makes it 3 Volkswagens in the top 6. And she rounds out the top 6. Good effort from Sarah this time around. Andy Mellors, Rich Hayden, Jose Calvo, and Kenny Press round out the top 10, all covered by 1.3 seconds. Press crosses line does not improve. Then we got Alde Stefantana, the Swiss driver, making his debut in the series this week. This evening. Dave Christie, Kobe Leekens, Janne de Prins rounding out the top 15 ahead of John Cole, Max Coates, Andy Carroll, and Chris Rigby, Gary Rigby, and Paul Laramie in the Honda Civic, rounding out the 21 in qualification. So as you can see, the timing is showing up on the screen. So I'm now going to do the right thing and take an obligatory screenshot for my reference when we line up on the grid in, well, literally a few seconds' time, I would imagine, as we're about to get things underway here at Mugello for round 3. It's race number 5 of the VRRC TCR eSeries. And don't forget to tune in this coming Saturday for the Mini Challenge UK eSeries, which is also in partnership with VRRC. I know that Max Coates has been very much involved behind the scenes. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that gets on. 35 drivers, bumper grid, both sim and real-life racing drivers in competition at 8 different circuits. It's going to be absolutely brilliant, with Richard John Neal doing the commentary for that as well. We're under starters orders here for race 5 of the VRRC TCR eSeries here at Mugello. So it's Marshall and Zoski on the front row. Well, that's Alex Toth Jones, I believe. So we're just waiting for the red lights to get ignited on the gantry before we go racing for 20 minutes. We are red 2. Lights out, and it's off and away we go here in Tuscany. Great start from, looks like Kletzer from P5. Alex Toth Jones, I think, looks to have been swarmed a little bit here, as Zoski looks to be up into P2, I believe, heading into the first corner. I think that might be Salminen alongside as Toth Jones up the inside of Kletzer, or trying to get through as, there's a little bit of clash between the pair. But Kletzer keeps the Golf back pointing the right direction, so that's compromised both him and also Konstantin Kletzer. So Mikko Salminen up into P3. There's Andy Mellors, he's now into P8, having qualified P7. And already, just keeping an eye, Konstantin Kletzer down in last position, 21st. Alex Toth-Jones in 6th and is being chased by Stefan Tanner, the Swiss driver in the Golf GTI, up from what was P11 originally. There's Jose Alday in P9 as they go down the hill. As they'll be heading towards turn 7 and 8. And then into the right-hander at 9. So then it's a short blast up to Scaporia, turn 10. A little bit of a dip as they head down into Pelagio for the first time. Tanner looking over the back bumper of Toth-Jones. But Marshall has a bit of a gap between himself and Zosku, to the tune of around nearly 0.6 of a second, or just over. Salminen not too far behind the Honda driver. There's Alex Toth-Jones in the MSL Motorsport Consultancy Cupra Leon being absolutely hounded by Stefan Tanner, who is the new wolf of the Wolf Pack and is trying to assert his stamp on the TCR eSeries. Kletzer's got some work to do from P21, as there's several lockups there, which includes Rich Hayden, Calvo and Toth-Jones. So Tanner could have thought of going up the inside, as just ahead of Carroll is Kenny Press. As Kletzer's got past Laramie for P20, so the recovery drive for Kletzer is now on. 17 minutes and 45 seconds still to go, as Toth-Jones looking up the inside of Calvo, who brakes and locks up, as there goes Tanner up the inside of the Cupra Leon driver. That's the battle still for P6. That is it side by side through turns 2 and into the right at 3, as Tanner's really trying to go for it. Can't get past. There's Leakins on the back bumper of Alday, so it's Alpha versus Cupra, as Mellor's getting a bit feisty behind the back bumper of Stefan Tanner. As Alday gets one sent up the inside of him by Corby Leakins for P9. As at the moment there is, I'm just keeping an eye back because Sarah Johnston has also ended up down at the back part of the field and is being battled with by Janne de Prins for P18 at the moment. The pair still side by side. Oh, that's brave from Sarah Johnson and Janne de Prins. There's Max Coates up into P15 ahead of Kenny Preston, the Saul Peugeot 308. They've got Andy Carroll just behind them. Great battling all the way through so far. As Press runs wide, 2 wheels in the gravel. Oh, that was very close as Leakins he's trying to go past Mellors up into P8. I think makes the move stick as Jones goes a bit late breaky into turn 12 there. Trying to close on Alday as, well, I think that was Calvo that he was trying to get past. Stefan Tanner looks to have lost a bit of distance between himself and Toth-Jones, because Tanner was looking really, really feisty in the outgoing salvo. First 3 and a bit minutes, as up the inside of Mellors tries to go Alday for P9, and they are side by side coming through the final corner. And Alday not able to get past the Hyundai for the minute, but there's still 15 minutes and 53 seconds still to go in this race. Marshall sets the fastest lap of the race and extends the gap over himself and between himself and Zoska to 0.53 of a second. Calvo looking to get past Hayden, but by going wide, there is allowed Toth-Jones to go into battle with him in the other Leon, Gary Rigby, battling away with Max Coates all the way down into P14 and 15. Coates has got past in the Honda. There's Chris Rigby, P11 at the minute. And just behind, he's got Dave Christie in the Mark 7 Golf GTI. We're on board with Jose Calvo, who has been deposed now by Alex Toth-Jones and has Stefan Tanner closing down back on him. Tanner's about 1.3 seconds behind Calvo at the minute, as there looks to be a move there, as John Cole, I think, has got past Rigby, Chris Rigby for P12. That is the case, as Christie now looking to force his way up past Alday into the top 10. And he's going to try and go up the inside of the Cupra. Kletzer is getting close to Sarah Johnson down the order and has got past the sister Golf. into P19. Gary Rigby drops down a couple of places as Andy Carroll and Kenny Press go up into P15 and 16 as Kletzer has a little bit of a lock-up, as does Johnson going down the hill. So still very much plenty of positions to chase, but in the case of Dave Marshall, as there has been a little bit of a change, there's some wayward battling. I think there's been a couple of drivers that have dropped. Stefan Tanner now still in P7. As there's Calvo. You can just see the right rear braking, locking up under braking, and that was not just from Calvo, it was also from Alex Toth-Jones just up ahead. As Chris Rigby looking up the inside of Andy Carroll, going into San Donato. And is he going to get the move done? No, that's not quite enough. He needed to be about another car length and a bit closer to Carroll in the braking zone, and he would have made the position. So Gary Rigby swapping places with Janne de Prins for P17 at the moment. Kletzer's closing in on that battle, as is Johnson. Kenny Press, as there's a good move there from Chris Rigby. I think he's trying to get up the inside of. I think de Prins has actually got past. So in many respects, you could find, as this is an absolute free-for-all here. Now that was including, I think that was Janne de Prins there, I believe. Because Alex Toth-Jones is 2.5 tenths of a second, not even that. He's run on the back bumper of Rich Hayden for P4. There's Tanner as, but a big lock-up from Jose Calvo there going down the hill. So Calvo now drops down into P8, so he loses out to Stefan Tanner and Kobe Leekens by that manoeuvre. So here's Sarah Johnson closing on the back bumper of Konstantin Kletzer, who in turn is trying to get past Janne de Prins. And this is an inter-Volkswagen Group battle between two Golfs and an Audi. There's Alex Toth-Jones still trying to get past, and he's going to go side by side with Rich Hayden, heading down towards San Donato. Rich Hayden will have the inside line as we quickly switch back to the battle between Kletzer, who sends it up the inside, tries to send it up the inside. Rich Hayden still. I think he hasn't got it here. I think Toth-Jones might have got past him. No, he hasn't. Hayden keeps the inside line, but then Toth-Jones goes round to the outside, runs a little bit wide, has to duck back in, goes for the switch back into turn 2. So nice work by Hayden to really, really put Toth-Jones on notice, as Toth-Jones really mounts the curves on both sides of Poggio Secco, which is turn 3, as they turn it to the left of Matarazzi. And you've got San Lorenzo, which is the right at turn 5. As Leekens trying to close on Tanner for P6. 3 tenths of a second between them. Battle for 10th between Jose Alde and Dave Christie is about 1.4 seconds. Chris Rigby and Max Coates still battling away for what is P15. As, Rich Hayden runs really, really wide, and Alex Toth-Jones goes, "Thank you very much for opening the door for me, Rich. Such a gent." And Stefan Tanner bandslides his way through on the Audi 2. And here's Kobe Leekens. So by one run wide incident for Rich Hayden, he drops from P4 to P7. But he's not letting Leekens go, not at all. So we're fast approaching the halfway point in this race. Dave Marshall, well, when they say you're not commentating on the leader, he's doing a pretty fine job, isn't he? He's about 1.5 seconds ahead of Tyson Zoska in the Honda Civic TCR. Mikko Salmonen rounds out the top 3. He is a further 3.6 behind Zoska, as another lock up there from Leekens in the Alpha. Mikko Salmonen is still ahead of Alex Toth-Jones, but Toth-Jones is trying to close at the minute. So they are battling for the final step on the podium here at Mugello. Halfway completed. Another half to go. 10 minutes on the clock remaining in this first of 2 20-minute races. There's Kenny Press in the 308 Peugeot GTI, the Sol Peugeot. So good to see France's one of France's main marks represented. There's Rich Hayden, still running in P7, having got up to as high as around P4. Still got to find a way past Corby Leakins for P6 at the minute. 9.5 minutes left on the clock still remaining. So Kenny Press is now closing on Andy Carroll, and Andy Carroll's having a really good turnaround in the Cooper Leon this time around, as there is Rich Hayden going, I think, a little bit hefty into the curbs through Casanova, turn 6 down the hill, as Calvo trying to close up on Rich himself, as Kenny Press he's trying to use as much of the racing line as he possibly can, using a different way to sort of outfox Andy Carroll. Corby Leakins still closing on Stefan Tanner from Switzerland, as Konstantin Kletz's fight back through the field starts to really gain some momentum here, as he's now up into P15, and going with him, and actually I think is working with him, is Sarah Johnson, as Alex Toth-Jones has had a bit of a moment there, so this has really changed the dynamic, and Rich Hayden's ended up the inside of the MSL Motorsport Consultancy Cupra. So Tanner now up into P4, Leakins up into P5, so I'm wondering if Toth-Jones actually ran wide somewhere, as Calvo breaks the left rear, trail braking a little bit, but locking up a bit too much for his liking. But Toth-Jones has really got some pace in that Cooper, as he's run on the back bumper again of Rich Hayden, heading down into San Donato. So we're now into lap number 8 of this race. So Tanner, P4. Toth-Jones past Rich Hayden going into San Donato and takes the inside line and goes defensive as Tanner goes up the inside of Leakins for P4 into San Donato. Really great, clean battling here from our competitors at the lower part of the top 10 from 4th downwards. 7 3/4 minutes left on the clock as Leakins gets very close. Kenny Press trying to keep it around the outside of Andy Carroll, as Max Coates is now closing in on this battle too. As we go to an overhead, Corby Leakins trying to keep pace with Stefan Tanner. Let me have a quick look at their lap times. A 1 minute 56.9 from Leakins, and Tanner's last lap was a 1 minute 57.6. So Leakins is a good 7/10 of a second quicker than the Swiss driver. Paul Laramie is battling away with, looks to be Gary Rigby, as Marshall extends his gap. He's been running in the 155s as Dave Marshall. At 1 minute 55.195, which is his best lap of the race. He's just put in a 1 minute 55.6. Zoskir a 1 minute 55.9. No one else apart from the top two have put in consistently a 1 minute 55 lap time, because most of them are actually battling away with each other. Salmon trying to close the gap on Zoskir, but it's not quite working out quite yet. Max Coates and Kenny Press running P14. Oh, nice work by Coates to go up the inside of Press there. And that is for position. He's going to be right on the back bumper of Andy Carroll, and that is for 12th. That Honda FK8 looking very racy in the hands of Max Coates now, as he sends it up the inside, does the auctionman. Well done, Max Coates there. Up into P12, and Carroll just neatly shuts the door in front of Kenny Press, as it's side by side between Leakins and Tanner in the battle for P4, heading into San Donato. Leakins runs a bit wider and actually tries to get the switchback on Tanner. So Coates and Press now past Andy Carroll, who drops down to P14. So Coates up into P12. Leakins just fractionally behind Stefan Tanner, who's just been in his personal best of the race, a 1 minute 56.635. So at the moment, out of the drivers, I'm just going to have a look and see who's gone sub 156. So Dave Marshall, Zosker, Salminen, Leakins, and Calvo. Those are the only drivers that have actually gone sub 1 minute 56 in this race. But Dave Marshall just absolutely blitzing the field. He's on for a 5th successive victory here, as we have pretty much 1/4 of the race to go. 5 minutes and 3 on the clock remaining, as Alex Toth-Jones gets very close and up close and personal with Corby Leakins in the battle for what is effectively P4 on the road. And just behind Toth-Jones is Hayden and Calvo. So very much the case of what is going to happen, that we will have many of these drivers battling away. And who knows what bedlam we're going to have with the reverse grid race at 6:50 p.m. local time here in the UK, but obviously in Italy, they're an hour ahead, so 7:50 p.m. local time. Track's still very stable in terms of air and track temperature, 20 degrees air temperature, that's Celsius, 22 degrees track temperature, as someone's just gone in the pits. Is that Alex Toth-Jones? Yeah, Alex Toth-Jones has gone in the pits. So he will drop down the order as Tanner and Leekens are at it again. Leekens on the outside of Tanner going into San Donato. And no, Tanner's still got the measure, but Leekens on the switchback offensive through San Donato into the left at Luco, which Tanner has the line for, gets the place back through the right into Poggio Secco. And they're going to blast down to Materazzi. That's turn 4. And to the right at Borgo San Lorenzo. So Alex Toth-Jones exits out of the pits in P18. So I'm wondering whether he might have had some damage that might have caused a bit of a problem for the MSL Motorsport Consultancy Cupra Leon TCR. Marshall's gap now between himself and Zoska is over 2.3 seconds as we get into the last 3 and a bit minutes remaining, as Leekens not giving up on P4. Tanner's got a bit of a gap to it, the tune of just over 0.4 of a second. So with 3 minutes to go, we have, along with the battle between Sarah Johnson and Janne de Prins showing on your screens for P15, but Sarah's a good 8 seconds up the road apparently, 8.9 seconds. So it's Marshall from Zoska, Salminen as, now there's been a bit of a moment, and that is Stefan Tanner. Stefan Tanner must have had a moment there between himself and Kobe Leekens. Now I'm not too sure what happened, what transpired. I'm sure I might find out, but yeah, Tanner has parked it. So Tanner out of the race with just over 2.5 minutes left on the clock. So a bit of a change there. So Leekens in the Alpha now up to P4 and is now battling with Mikko Salminen, I believe, or has he? No. Quick blip on the timing there as Kobe Leekens now, as there's been a bit of a moment, I think, for Rich Hayden down at P6, Andy Miller's P7, Jose Alde P8. Stefan Tanner apparently is back up to, well, I think is no longer in P9. I think Max Coates is showing, but I'm just waiting for the timing just to reset itself. It looks like Max Coates has got P9 with just under 2 minutes to go. Sarah Johnson up to P14 behind Konstantin Kletzer. Kenny Press rounds out the top 12. Dave Christie having a bit of a war with himself, I believe. And Stefan Tanner has pulled it into the pits. That's a real shame for the Swiss driver in the Volkswagen Golf GTI Mark 7 TCR. Was that before Volkswagen's withdrawal from all combustion powered cars? The Mark 7 was the last generation of the TCRs that they would provide. Same with Audi with the RS3. Cupra still keeping its hand in, as the new Leon TCR Competition was released earlier on virtually. The Alfa Romeo Giulietta TCR has been running quite recently, as last year in WTCR with Kevin Chacon, amongst other people. So we're coming to the end of this first of 2 20-minute races, as Konstantin Kletzer is not having it all his own way, because he's got Sarah Johnson trying to close him down, and Johnston's doing a good job. She's about 4 and a bit tenths behind. And unfortunately for Alex Toth-Jones, it's a race that he's definitely going to want to forget this time around. And so Alex Toth-Jones gets past Janne de Prins for P15. And it's been plain sailing for our leader, and who is set to become our 5 in a row bloke here, as it is now the final lap for Dave Marshall. He is on his final lap here at Mugello. There's Sarah Johnson trying to go up the inside of Konstantin Kletzer. Oh, that's brazen from Sarah, and I think she's got the move done, or is she going into turn 2? Kletzer will have the inside run. And Johnson keeping it round the outside. That's a brilliant battle, and she's got it done through turn 3. Got it done through turn 3. Well done, Sarah. Brilliant move there on the final lap of the race, and that is for P12 on the road. But Kletzer's still not wanting to say anything much about it. There's Rigby, Gary Rigby, just behind John Cole. And the gap between Dave Marshall as we come towards the end of it, and it's still side by side between Kletzer and Johnson. Kletzer fractioning ahead, but Johnson will try and, oh no, a little bit of a tap on the right rear on the back bumper of Konstantin Kletzer, but they're still pushing and shoving, swapping paint, and Johnson barges her way through. A little bit of a love tap there, unsettles the rear end of the front-wheel drive Golf for Kletzer. But very shortly, we will be seeing that it will be 5 in a row for Dave Marshall very shortly. There's Halday in P8. Mellor's just up ahead. He says the Hyundai in P7, and the checkered flag is out. That is it. Dave Marshall, 5 for 5, and there is drama for Kobelikins, it looks like, on the final lap. So Dave Marshall takes race number 5. That's 5 in a row for Dave Marshall. Tyson Zosker in P2. Salmonen P3. Calvo up to P4. Rich Hayden rounds out the top 5 ahead of Jose Alde and Andy Mellors. Nice resurgence from Max Coates to finish P8 after dramas for both Stefan Tanner and Alex Toth-Jones. Tanner would pit, and Toth-Jones would soldier on to finish P14 ahead of Yanni de Prince. Andy Carroll in P9. Dave Christie rounds out the top 10. Sarah Johnson takes P11 at the end, as P12 at the end ahead of Konstantin Kletzer. So very much the case of plenty of racing in that race there. What a job by Dave Marshall. 5 from 5. 2 at Spa, 2 at Zandvoort, and now he's picked up one half of the victories here at Mugello. So very shortly, in about a couple of minutes, I'll be told when they'll be going to the grid. We will have the reverse grid race to conclude round 3 of the virtual reality racing club TCR eSeries at Mugello. Firstly, a big thank you to Rich Hayden from VRRC for entrusting me with the microphone, and really do appreciate everyone that is watching on the relevant streams through the official Virtual Reality Racing Club Facebook page, the Simply Race YouTube channel, amongst others. Looks like very, very, very shortly we could be going to the grid. Just waiting for that to be confirmed. Yep, we're just going to go to a quick interlude at the moment, and then we'll be back for the reverse grid 20-minute race here at Mugello. We're back for race 6 of the virtual reality racing club TCR eSeries here at Mugello, and it is the reverse grid race. We're just waiting for everyone to get on the grid. Lights are being ignited. All 6 lights will go to red, and then we will go green. Looks like we've got one driver not showing on the right-hand side if you're looking on that screen there. Red lights go from ignited to out, and we are racing in the 20-minute reverse grid race. Zandvoort was an absolute slobber knocker. Let's see what happens in Tuscany as they fire their way down, being led by Paul Laramie in the Tom Coronel liveried Honda TCR as John Cole up the inside. Oh, that's very, very bracing. That could be, I think that was John Cole and one of the Rigby's, as it's 3 abreast with Press in the middle of the plains, and gets they pinball off each other, and it absolutely sends everyone everywhere. Press is off, Johnson off, Kletzer off, and it only took 30 odd seconds for a pinball incident to happen. I think you asked Roger Daltrey, they probably would have asked for a pinball wizard on that, but never mind. Off we go, and just under 60 seconds completed. Paul Laramie is leading the way. John Cole, then we've got Chris Rigby, Alex Toth-Jones up into P4, Max Coates P5, Alday P6, Rich Hayden keeping it pointed in the right direction in P7 ahead of Salmonen as Tanner fires it up the inside of Carroll. Nice move by the Swiss driver up to P9. Zoska and Marshall as a little bit of side door banging from John Cole up the inside of Paul Laramie, going down from Scaporia into Palagio, turns 10 and 11. As Max Coates and also Alex Toth-Jones have got past Laramie, so that has changed the dynamic at the front of the race. Now Marshall is in P11, and he's not that far behind Andy Carroll, and will make short work of the Cupra driver, which he has done. He's just behind Zoska. Or has he? Let's just keep an eye on what's happening here as Laramie goes off. As, Marshall now gets up into P9, and that is just under 2 minutes in. And from pretty much the back part of the field, he's done a top gear from the rear as Dave Marshall yet again. So that Hyundai i30 NTCR definitely showing some good prowess as Rich Hayden goes up the inside of Jose Alday into San Donato. And the pair of side-by-side still coming through the exit of the corner, through into Luco, which Alday will have the run for and gets the line back, gets the position back. And then Hayden closes up. And just behind is Salmonen. So Salmonen's really been waiting in the wings, and he has to swarm over the back. He looks to go left and then right on the back bumper of Rich Hayden as Max Coates going to try and fire it up the inside of John Cole. The pair goes side by side down the dip. And that looks to be Arrabbiata 1. That's turn 8, and then into Arrabbiata 2. So it's a double right-hander. So we go on board with Max Coates, 0.3 of a second behind John Cole, who has kept the i30 up the front. But at the minute, the way that Dave Marshall is absolutely siding his way through this field is just absolutely relentless. And he's got Zoska just up ahead. So the Honda, if Zoska's not careful, he's going to have Marshall firing it way past him very shortly. Alex Toth-Jones currently P14 behind the Alfa Romeo Giulietta of Kobelikens. So there's Laramie, now down into P10 is the Honda driver. So I was leading when we went from lights out just under 4 minutes ago. Max Coates now, Alday also trying to muscle in on trying to get past as they come around the final corner of Busini. So Cole leads from Coates all day. Hayden, Salmonen, Zoska, Marshall, Carroll, Rigby. That's Greg Rigby and Paul Laramie rounding out the top 10. So they fire their way down. Coates keeping it to the outside and slingshots past Cole, but Cole's going to get the inside run. Tries the late break. Is he going to run wide? He locks up and lets through. Coates, Cole. Here comes Hayden. So Hayden is going to have an opportunity at a switchback coming out of Poggio Secco, which is turn 3. And Cole runs wide. Hayden up the inside. Traces a little bit of paint. Salmon nearly making it 3 wide on the run to Matarazzi. Soska not too far behind the fin. And then Marshall waiting in the wings to see what happens in front, what transpires. So nearly a quarter of this race completed as Hayden swarming all of the back bumper of John Cole for P3. Going down the hill. Zoska looking on the back bumper of Salmonen. Fastest lap at the moment is being held by Zoska, who's going to try. Well, he looked up the inside briefly on Salmonen for P5. Didn't really have any sort of spatial room there to make the gap stick. Zoska's got the fastest lap at 1 minute 56.544. Dave Marshall's also set a personal best. The only two drivers actually that have gone sub 1 minute 57 is John Cole leaves the door open a little bit there for Rich Hayden. Cole breaks, locks up again in the I-30. Hayden gets past and keeps it side by side as they head down the hill. As Cole gets a little bit into the back bumper, a little bit of rubbings racing there on the back of Rich Hayden. As Salmonen trying to go around the outside. Zoska taps the back bumper of Cole, trying to go up the inside of Salmonen. But Cole kept it. Nicely done, as it's nearly 3 wide. It's sort of flotsam and jetsam a little bit here between P4 to P7, and Marshall is going to use the pure grunt of the I-30 to try and get past Salmonen. And he's going to make it 3 wide. Is he? Or is it 4? It's bumper cars, nearly 4 abreast going into San Donato. And they all keep it clean, or do they? Zoski's got into P4 past Cole. And then it's Salmonen and Marshall. Andy Carroll has been a bit of a dark horse. Alex Toth-Jones is making his way through the field in P11. As Salmonen looks to get past Cole as they head up into Matarazzi and San Lorenzo. And Salmonen not knowing whether he's going to need to attack or defend. And Marshall's gone, well, if you're going to defend, I'm going to attack you. You can't get past Cole. I need to get past quickly. And hustles his way through. Takes a big amount of curb there, does Dave Marshall. But he gets past. So Salmonen, I think, was just holding him up. And that's unleashed Marshall. But the thing is that Max Coates now leads and has a battle between himself and Jose Alde. This is going to allow Rich Hayden and Zoska to close up, then Cole, then Marshall. Now, what is Cole going to do? Because, no, he can't do anything because Marshall's got past him for P5. Carroll's still just fractionally behind. And we've got 12 and a half minutes of this race remaining. Dave Marshall still has plenty of time. Doesn't need to really rush things. And he's right on the back bumper of Salmonen. No, sorry, John Cole there, my apologies. Because there's Zoska on the right-hand side. We're on board with him on the left, with Rich Hayden just up ahead in the number 50 Audi RS3 LMS TCR. Car that Tom Coronel was going to be using this year in the FIA WTCR Cup, as it's side by side between Cole and Marshall for P5. Salmonen waiting in the wings. Marshall trying to go towards the outside. Salmonen trying to go up the inside of Cole. It's going to be 3 abreast going into San Donato. Who's going to come out best on that? It looks like Marshall has done it. I think he's done it. If he's pulled that one out of the bag, that's an absolute magician's trick he's just thrown out there. But Salmonen keeping Marshall honest. Doesn't want Marshall to run away with the championship. Because considering that Marshall has got 5 wins in a row and he's having to fight quite significantly, because the reverse grid race really does throw the cat amongst the proverbial pigeons. So Max Coates is about half a second ahead of Jose Alde. Zoska in 3rd. Rich Hayden in 4th. Dave Marshall has got to try and close, and he's about 1.1 seconds. A bit of a mistake there on the left-hand side of your screen from John Cole. Andy Carroll up into P7 now. So Salmonen keeping in close proximity with Dave Marshall. As Chris Rigby and Paul Laramie, who's absolutely fallen from grace, started on pole position from the race itself about 9.5 minutes ago. There's Jan de Prins and Kobelikens. Battling over P12 as the Alpha sends it up the inside, going through turns 10 and 11. As they head towards the right-hander at Correntao, which is... Leakage just sends it around the outside of the Prince. That's a great move. I wonder if he kept it on the road afterwards, because he would have had a bit of difficulty going through Biondetti. As Zoskit now on the back bumper of All Day. And that is the battle for second on the road. And Zoskit was less than a tenth of a second adrift. So fastest layup again now being set by Alex Toth-Jones. The MSL Motorsport Consultancy Cupra Leon now up into P9. As Dave Marshall has got a little bit of distance between himself to gather with Rich Hayden about nearly 2 seconds up the road. But Alex Toth-Jones is the only driver that has gone sub 1 minute 56. As Alde and Zoskit battling over second. Zoskit makes the move past the Cupra. Up into P2 goes the Honda with Rich Hayden now trying to go side by side with Alde to go up the inside of the Cupra. Will the Audi make it through? All just as they rub door panels there. And this has allowed Marshall to close up. So whilst Hayden and Alde have had that little skirmish, Dave Marshall has just been going on business as usual. And he's right on the back bumper. He's going to get past. So Marshall could get... Does he get past All Day? Oh, a little bit of rubbing there between the left corner, the front corner of the Hyundai, and Salmonen has slung shot past. Oh, yellow flag's out. Yellow flags are out ever so briefly there. So has someone ended off? Well, Stefan Tanner no longer running in this race. I don't know whether he was able to make it. So if he's had a disconnect, that's a shame for the Swiss driver. As now I see that Dave Marshall is behind Mikko Salmonen. So All Day, when he and Marshall had that little coming together, it allowed Salmonen to pounce. And now it is a Honda 1-2 at the moment. And we're not talking British touring cars. We're not talking TCR UK. We are talking the Virtual Reality Racing Club TCR eSeries with Max Coates leading Tyson Zoskit by a second. Rich Hayden is rounding out the top 3 positions as it is a slipstream fest between All Day, Marshall and Salmonen. This is for P4 as Stefan Tanner now exits the pits as Marshall looks to late break going up the inside of All Day. Let's see if All Day runs wide or they keep it planted through San Donato. But the thing is that, there's a little bit of clashing as All Day nearly punts Marshall off, but Marshall kept it nice and clean, and that allows him to get a gap between himself and Mikko Salmonen, who wasn't able to capitalise and get past this Seat. Or has he? He has now. And that's through turn 5 as they go down the dip into Casanova at turn 6. Very nice corner here at turn 6, very committed. Here into the left at Savelli for the double right-hander at Arrabbiata 1 and 2, turns 8 and 9. So 7 minutes still of this race to go, and I'm looking at the gap between Dave Marshall and Max Coates as Paul Laramie goes switching positions with Kenny Press. Kenny not having a good run in this one as well. He suffered in the reverse grid race at Zandvoort in the early phases as we go into the last 6 3/4 minutes of what is effectively race 6 of the Virtual Reality Racing Club TCR eSeries here at Mugello in the Tuscany region. Lock up from both All Day and Carroll through the same corner. And the good thing is now that Dave Marshall has got over 9.5 tenths of a second gap. Make that a second between himself and Salmonen, as Press trying to again get past Laramie. That's for P16 on the road as Laramie runs wide. And Kenny Press just goes, thank you very much. You're such a gentleman you are, Paul. Letting me through, opening the door first. That's not what's meant to happen in racing, as Andy Carroll is trying to close up on Jose Alde in P6. And again, Dave Marshall is closing now. This time he has Rich Hayden in his crosshairs. And with 5 minutes and 50 to go, the battle is intensifying at the front of the field. So Coates and Zoskit are around about 0.3 of a second apart. As Kenny Press on the back bumper of Chris Rigby there. That's for what's going to be P15 with 5 minutes and 35 seconds to go on the clock. And Coates has pretty much been at the front of the field. He managed to get to the front, and he's kept it there at the moment, but it's just dependent on what Zoska does in the last quarter of this race. The two Hondas pretty much stuck together with some Loctite super glue as we now enter into the final 5 minutes of the reverse grid race number 2 here at Mugello, which is race 6. So we are on the penultimate round of the Virtual Reality Racing Club TCR eSeries. Coates is still doing a great job. He's got the gap now between himself and Zoska to 0.4 of a second. But whilst they're battling away, I mean, Rich Hayden is bringing along Dave Marshall and Mikko Salminen with him. So the gap now, I mean, it's showing at 2.9 seconds, but I think the gap might be coming down. But Rich Hayden's had a bit of a lock-up there, so that's allowed Dave Marshall to close up. So here's Zoska, right on the back bump, well, pretty much a car length and a half behind, and he's getting closer, There's Dave Marshall, as Coates goes ultra defensive, as Marshall powers around towards the outside of Rich Hayden. Oh, gets a little bit of a nudge, and that puts Dave Marshall off the circuit. Dave Marshall, with 3 minutes and 53, is not going to get the clean sweep here at Mugello. But Zoska, in the meantime, has got past Coates with 3 minutes and 40 on the clock to go. So Dave Marshall now drops down out of the top 3, now down into P5 as a result of that little contretemps between himself and Rich Hayden. As Marshall went towards around the outside of the circuit into San Donato, and Hayden still had enough get up and go to keep it planted on the inside, and the pair came to blows. I think that was mainly, from my perspective, I think that might have been a little bit of a racing incident, but obviously that's not my call. They both went for the same move, both to stay in P3, and Rich thought, well, I'll have it, and then Mikko's just gone, thank you very much. Just about all I wanted to see. Alex Toth-Jones, in the meantime, on the right-hand side of your screen, actually outside, on the outside view, and also on the helicam now, we've just seen that Paul Laramie's battling away for 17th position. Alex Toth-Jones has been battling away with Jose Alde, and that is for P7. So Alex Toth-Jones doing a great job to come back from the back of the grid. But Dave Marshall is going to have his streak broken. 5 out of 5 so far, with 2.5 minutes remaining. But it is still nip and tuck between the two Hondas at the front. Max Coates is not letting Tyson Zoska to get away with it. And now Coates has got the advantage. He's got the slipstream coming down the main straightaway, very long straightaway down into San Donato here at Mugello, based in the Tuscany region. And Zoska was actually quicker. He's broken a little bit of the toe on Max Coates, and the gap is about, well, it's gone, fluctuated anywhere between 0.6 and 0.2 of a second between the top two. So it is Honda v Honda for what is going to be the Race 2 reverse grid victory here at Mugello. As Alde battling away with Toth-Jones, and Carroll just up ahead of the MSL Motorsport Consultancy Cupra Leon. So Toth-Jones looking to get possibly a top 6 finish in this race after a disaster last time out, and they're still at each other's throats, at Dave Marshall and Rich Hayden here. So we go on board with 1 minute and 20 seconds remaining, briefly on the left-hand side with Max Coates, as Dave Marshall finally gets past Rich Hayden, who thought, well, I've got to let him pass, he's quicker than me. It's a bit like Fernando is faster than you. Remember that, Ferrari, Germany, a few years ago, 2012, if memory serves me correctly, I think. But we go into the last 60 seconds, and the gap between Zoska and Coates. Oh, Coates has really overcooked it into the braking zone there. So that's put him on the back foot, as Jose Calvo now battling away with Kobe Leakins and John Cole for what is P9 on the road, as they come... So it looks like Calvo has lost position. But Max Coates really keeping Tyson Zoska Very, very honest indeed. We will now go on to the final lap, as they will have crossed it onto lap number 12 of this race very shortly, with around 20 seconds on the clock remaining. Yep, so there we go. As Coates puts in a blinder, 1 minute 55.989, and he's all swarming all over the back bumper of Zoska, going into San Donato, trying to keep it planted around the outside. Is he going to keep it there? It's still side by side between the two Hondas. And Coates, if he gets this going into Luco, he's got it. No, it's side by side. But Zoska keeps it through Secco, but goes and runs wide, and Coates re-inherits the lead on the final lap going into turn 4 at Materazzi. As Cole keeps it planted on the inside of Leakins. That is for P9. But Max Coates could be on course for his first VRR TCR eSeries victory. That depends on Zoskit, what he does in the final hurrah, as we are on the final lap. Let's go back to the leaders. There's Zoskit. And he's lost the gap. He's lost a huge chunk of time. He ran wide out of turn 3 at Poggio Secco when he and Coates were running side by side through San Donato and Luco. Here's Alex Toth-Jones. He's going to try and see if he can get past Andy Carroll for P6. Oh, and he makes the move, does he? He gets on the curbs, takes the inside line. Carroll will have the inside line for the next corner. Oh, they're bang door panels. Toth-Jones ends up wide as a result. So there's Leakins, P10. But Max Coates, I think this is really going to be a great way to round out his racing here at Mugello here this afternoon. So there are the two leaders. They are coming to cross the finish line. It's going to be a drag race. This is what we want. But by a whisker, it's going to go to Max Coates by 0.1 of a second. Tyson Zosker gets P2 as there's still argy-bargy all the way down the field. John Cole and Kobe Leakins have lost out to Jose Calvo for P9. And here comes Konstantin Kletzer to get the straps. So Max Coates is our second different winner out of 6 races, as Konstantin Kletzer will rack up P10 at the end of that. So Coates takes it by 1/10 of a second from Tyson Zosker, because Salmon rounds out the podium ahead of Dave Marshall, who tried as hard as he could, but Rich Hayden tore his streak asunder. Alex Toth-Jones takes P6, I believe, ahead of Danny Carroll. Jose Alde, Jose Calvo, Konstantin Kletzer ran at the top 10 ahead of Kobe Leakins. Andy Mellors, second Hyundai. Yanne de Prins, in the sister cars of Rich Hayden, rounds out the top 13. Kenny Press, John Cole, Gary Rigby, Chris Rigby, Paul Laramie, Sarah Johnson and Stefan Tanner round out the 20. I know that Dave Christie was a noticeable absentee. But breaking news from Mugello for the Virtual Reality Racing Club TCR eSeries, Max Coates takes the reverse grid win here at Mugello. Well, they did say that the second reverse grid race at Zandvoort was something to speak about. There were plenty of talking points, and I'm sure that I'll be speaking to some drivers very, very shortly indeed. I'm sure that we'll get a word with Rich Hayden and Dave. I'd like to hear both their arguments on that particular side of that argy-bargy. But, yeah. But even though Dave Marshall did not finish on the top step of the podium in that race, what it means is that he still extends his lead in the championship. But I would imagine that there's probably going to be a little bit of relief from Tyson Zosker about the fact that Tyson was in contention for being the second different winner. Max took it from him on the final lap out to the exit of turn 3 and made it through to Materazzi to make it stick. So, you know, I'm sure that there'll be plenty of good comments. There'll be plenty of, I know a lot of them are in the drivers' chat at the moment, as I can look on the Discord server at the minute. So we'll find out who we'll be speaking to very, very shortly, first of all. But yeah, more TCR action, great bumper to bumper, wheel to wheel, bit of rubbings, racing. That's what you expect from TCR competition. And with everything so incredibly close, it's just been really, really good. here at here in the virtual commentary box, and also seeing the action unfold at Mugello. A fantastic circuit, a really, really good technical circuit, but very fast and flowing. That's what you seem to see with a lot of Italian circuits, and Mugello is right. Well, speaking of people I wanted to speak to, our most successful driver, who still leads the point standings despite a little bit of a tussle with Rich Hayden, Dave Marshall joins me. Dave, that was an interesting race from your perspective, I would imagine, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it was fair dramatic, wasn't it? I said we would give us a race. That was my latter judgment at the end of the straight. Just thought I was clear. Went for the block move, and Rich was late on the brakes, and it happens. But we both got fairly unscathed from it and both drove away. So the race was fairly close as well. Unfortunately, had rear end damage from the start. Which really hindered us on breaking into the first turn. So made the best of it. Shame to throw away a third place, but oh well, move on to the next round.
Exactly. That's rubbing's racing, as they say. So look forward to seeing you back at the final round of this series, mate. And congratulations on your 5 victories so far and your extension in the points lead.
Yeah, we'll try and carry it on to Nürburgring.
Brilliant. Okay, next up, I want to speak to our 2 Honda drivers, Max Coates and hopefully I've got this right, Tyson Zosker. Guys, great battle. Max, I want to hear from you first. You know, picking up the win on race number 6 of this, but it was close between you and Tyson, wasn't it?
It sure was. I hadn't sweated that much for a while, so yeah, he certainly had some pace. I think obviously the toe makes a big difference around here. So you know we couldn't really get away from each other, which kept it tight. Obviously when he got past and onto the final few laps. But yeah, sort of like Rich and Dave having that incident really put me off. So Rich had a fair old shout at some point, and I lost a bit of concentration, which I think is when Tyson got past, and then had to hunt him back down and go for it from there.
Next time when you're battling for the lead, put the headset on mute. You'll be fine.
I don't know how to do that. I'm still learning.
You're still learning. You're still learning, crikey.
Yeah.
Well, you got more racing as well, obviously with tonight, and obviously the mini Challenge UK eSeries that starts on Saturday as well. So
yeah, no, it's definitely keeping me busy. So it's good to get some practice in for Assetto Corsa. Certainly feeling good, and it's nice to have a win going into this weekend, which is quite a big focus for me. So yeah, hopefully this kind of thing can continue.
Well done, Max. All the very best of luck for later on this evening. Obviously, we'll see you for the E-Team Brit Summer Series finale this Friday, and also the mini Challenge UK Series starting with Richard John Neal behind the microphone for that one, starting at this Saturday. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Good luck, mate.
Thank you.
Nice work, Tyson. You had Max on his toes, didn't you?
Yeah, it was a close one. I was looking in my mirror for Dave most of the race, and I realized Rich was still ahead of him, and I had a bit of a chance. So I went for it, but I don't know. It's close in the end. I can't complain. It was a tight battle. It's a good race.
Well done. Obviously, that keeps you second in the standings at the moment. So all the very best of luck for next week when we return for our final round.
Yeah, thanks for Rich for putting everything on. Everything's been fun so far. It's been a fun few weeks.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Tyson. Have a good evening.
You too. Thanks.
Cheers. Right. Okay. Speaking of Rich Hayden, evening, Rich. How you doing, mate? You're right.
I'm hot. I'm hot. I'm sweaty. Oh my God, what a race. That was amazing.
Don't start painting me a picture, please, please. I don't want to see any pictures sent on Discord at all of how sweaty you are at the minute. I mean, it has been quite a hot day anyway, even though virtually speaking Mugello. But yeah, that was quite a good battle between you and Dave. And also, you know, you had the likes of Jose Alde and Mikko Salmonen as well, amongst other drivers. So there was quite a lot of action in the reverse grid race, but also the first race as well. You were looking really, really good for a top 5 finish.
Yeah, first race I overdrove the car and overheated the tyres and started to lose grip, and then because I was moving backwards towards towards the guys behind me. Just couldn't get the tyre temperature down, so I was just like an ice. The front end was just all over the place. But wow, that second race, yeah, I mean, yeah, Jose, what a move he put down the side of me actually in the first race. Amazing move as we got into T1, and then. God, race 2. You know what I saw? I was looking for Dave in my mirrors, and yeah, I saw him coming out and just thought it's only a matter of time before he gets me down the straight. He's going to get a better exit out of the last corner, and he's going to drift me down the straight. And then, yeah, then we had a bit of a coming together, but, you know, it's all good. It's all good. We're still friends.
Brilliant. And obviously your focus, along with Max, has been the Mini Challenge UK eSeries, which starts this coming Saturday with Richard John Neal behind the microphone. Obviously a packed grid, 24, I think it's over 20 real-life drivers, so quite a few that I know. Obviously Alex is in it. I know Will Fairclough is in it as well. He's a good bloke as well. I'm looking forward to seeing how he gets on. Obviously Max. And then we've got the sim racers, you know, all vying for a seat, an opportunity to get behind the wheel of a Mini Challenge car in real life as well. And the real life racers are going for a prize of a £10,000 sim, which is absolutely brilliant. I mean, I don't know how you pulled it together, but great work on both this and also with the Mini Challenge UK eSeries coming this coming Saturday.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, you know, we got the green light on the Mini Challenge from Anthony, and, you know, amazing thanks to Anthony for allowing myself and Max and a couple of the other guys put this together. But we got the green light 3 weeks ago. So from a standing start to the first race this weekend, it's been a bit of a wild journey, but oh my God, 35 cars on the grid, 22 real life drivers, and the rest sim racers, some of which are the fastest in the world. Oh my God, it's going to be amazing. You know, the free practice times and the free practice server is open all week, and I've been monitoring and you know, watching how the guys have been getting on, and they've been having some little test races amongst themselves. My God, that car's good, and it's going to be epic.
Very much, Rich. Look forward to seeing you next week for the season finale.
Cheers, and thanks to you, Alex, and thanks to Mike for doing the stream, and great job, mate. Thanks very much.
Forward to coming myself, mate. Really looking forward to it. Really appreciate it as well. Okay, I think we've also got Cobby Leekins with us as well, the sole Alfa Romeo driver. Cobby, bit of a difficult up and down race evening for you, wasn't it, in the Alfa?
Yeah. The first race, I just ran out of fuel on the final corner. It was, it's really unfortunate.
I mean, but you had pretty good pace. I think in both races, you really showed a good measure of what the Alfa is capable of. And obviously, we go to the final round next week, and you should have I think just as good a purchase as such, really, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I really loved the race because I had quite a good of pace in it, and I'm kind of surprised that I'm the only one driving the Alfa because it's a good car. I think I was driving fourth with it, so I'm pretty satisfied with the performance.
Fair enough, Cobby. Well, have a good evening. Look forward to seeing you next week at the finale here at the Virtual Reality Racing Club TCR eSeries.
Thanks, man.
Well, that's it. The action at Mugello has been concluded. We come back next week for our season finale. So we'll have races 7 and 8, 2 20-minute races, 1 reverse grid race, and a 20-minute qualification session. Join myself, Alex Goldschmidt, once again, and we'll have some great TCR racing action. Have a good evening and stay safe.